This week, I'm here to review the slightly controversial Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross plug-in hybrid. For me, the most controversial part of the car is the way it looks. The split lights. These daytime running lights are just that, daytime running lights. The headlights are down here behind this Perspex cover, lower down in the bumper. And I'm not at all fussed on this grille either. The side profile with its extreme wedge shape, but at least they've kind of fixed the back. That was what was wrong with the first iteration of this car. It was this weird two-piece thing with a smaller back window down under this kind of genuine imitation airfoil and a slightly larger back window. It just didn't work for me at all. I thought it looked hideous. It's a manual tailgate. The taillights have been changed as well, and that kind of looks okay for me. Inside you'll notice the back seats do go down 60/40, but there's a fairly limited boot space, and under here all you have is the charging cable. Now that charging cable allows you to charge at home anywhere where there's a 240 volt socket. The other thing is you can charge at a charging station, and that makes this very flexible. The thing this has over a pure EV is that the range can be extended. That was incredibly easy to get in. This is surprisingly spacious. There's not a lot of depth to the seat. You can see that my legs are kind of sitting straight up, but there's quite a lot of legroom, and the view to the front is kind of blocked, as in most cars, by this enormous headrest. There's a two-part sunroof over top, but as you can see, the rear window is kind of small, and with this door shut, it's a little bit claustrophobic. Surprisingly, there's seat heating in the back, but no rear vent. There's a couple of cup holders, but look, this belt thing is right in my bottom. And there's some smart carbon effect on the doors. The front seat is a much nicer place, and funnily enough, the car is still cool despite the fact that it's 26 degrees, so relatively warm today. This car is as cool as a cucumber, and that is because while I've been outside recording, I've had it set on 20 degrees. While we're down here, let's have a look at a few of these things. There's a power outlet here for my navman. Also, a small tray, and this rather interesting Toyota style gear shifter. You've got to shift it over and back to get into drive, over and up to get into reverse, pull it back to get into neutral, and pull it back to get into the mode where you get engine braking. And you actually have a couple of choices, B3 and B5. And above is this pop-up heads-up display. And I've also had a few problems with this. This is the infotainment system, and I like to listen to DAB. Funnily enough, there doesn't seem to be any DAB stations. What you see here is previously stored, so something has happened to the reception after these stations were stored. Also, my Apple CarPlay simply refused to read out the messages no matter what I did. But the weirdest thing about this interior is the odd placement of the park button. The other thing is, and you may not be able to see that, but this piano black is really badly scratched, and this car only has 7,654 kilometers on it. Imagine what it's going to be like with another 100,000 kilometers. Always my problem with piano black. The transmission is a CVT, which, as you know, isn't my favorite at the best of times. Fuel consumption claimed is down as low as 1.9 liters per 100 kilometers, but that very much depends on exactly how you drive and what kind of driving you're doing, and whether or not you've bothered to plug your plug-in hybrid in. The hybrids come with a twin motor plug-in system with SAWC, whatever that means, all-wheel control, but it means nothing to me. The 8-inch touchscreen does seem a little bit behind the times. There's plenty of room in the back, so you could theoretically take a couple of people on a trip. And that's what I was doing this week. I was making sure that I used this car the way you would. So I did a little bit of shopping, a couple of doctor's appointments. I made absolutely sure that I could drive this car normally. Now here's the interesting thing, so long as I was prepared to do a couple of things different, this worked out really well. I had to go to a different place to do my shopping. What it meant is that I could plug in and get a top up. Now 20 minutes is more than enough to give me 80% charge on this rather small battery. Now for that, I'll be doing the rest of my running around today in pure EV mode. But this car also has some party tricks. Not only can it accept power from many sources, it can also give power to other sources. You can power your home. You can power appliances. You can send it back to the grid. Not only that, should you see another poor soul in an EV that's broken down on the side of the road because they've run out of power, you can give them some of yours. And it's fast too. It's best practice to actually plug the car in and charge it up. Because if you don't, it means the hybrid drive will be all you use. Not a problem in a normal hybrid car, but in a plug-in hybrid, the battery that does the pure EV driving won't ever get charged because you can't charge that battery from driving. It has to be plugged in. The steering is ridiculously light, as it is in most EVs. It is electric, remember, and most new electric steering has pretty much zero feel. That's not a bad thing. I mean, you just have to be prepared for it. And there are drive modes. Now you can see then I've gone to indicate to change lanes and it was beeping at me, and that beeping was the blind spot monitor. So this car does have blind spot monitor, and it also has lane departure warning, but it doesn't appear to be active. It's just passive, it's just a warning. The plastic feels quite hard. I mean, above the doors they're trying to make it soft, and the same with the dash, but the glove box and so forth, very hard. And of course you saw the piano black, that's already really badly scratched. So the cabin ambience doesn't quite feel like a $54,000 car should. But one thing is, the pickup is impressive. So taking off from that set of lights, I was able to stay in pure EV mode. Once I get out on the freeway though, you'll notice the engine will cut in. Even in pure EV mode, when it's running on charge that I got this morning, the engine, as I said, will cut in from time to time. And it operates at certain speeds. The engine's now cut in because I needed extra oomph. But I have to say, on the highway, it is still using the pure EV battery, and unfortunately it runs down really fast. So that is just a city thing. The other thing at highway speed that you notice is it is quite floaty. The suspension is very soft, and there is quite an alarming amount of body roll in corners, to the point where it was quite comical. It didn't let go, but it felt like it was going to. And that can be unnerving if you're not expecting it. But the important thing is, on a trip like this, the cabin is nice and quiet. Now, I'd normally have the audio on to keep me company, and Mitsubishi is quietly proud of the audio system, but to be honest, I didn't find it all that brilliant. It was a little bit sloppy. My driving data is now telling me that I've been in EV mode for 62% of the time, and that I'm currently running at 1.5 litres per 100 kilometres. If you manage to plug this in when you go to work, plug it in when you get home, keep it topped up, you would use the batteries most of the time. So this week I've been trying to use as much EV as possible, and I wanted to prove that you could in fact buy a plug-in hybrid, and even if you don't have charging at home, as I don't, that you could use this as an electric car. We've found some attractive otters to keep you occupied while you hit like. Leave a comment, but above all, the roundel, hit that to subscribe.